we're diving into a really powerful idea, how just a handful of seconds, literally a few seconds of courage, can completely alter the entire course of your life. So we're going to be looking at a talk from Gregory Russell Benedict, and he makes this incredibly bold claim right at the start. He says he's found a secret to the universe, and get this, it's one that can transform your whole life in just 10 seconds. He kicks things off with this very direct question. So today, we're going to unpack his answer and really dig into the formula he believes is the key to connecting fortune and boldness. Now, this whole journey for him started with a phrase, what if fortune favors the bold was more than just a cool saying? What if it was a literal instruction manual for life? He actually posed this question to himself. And from there, he developed this working hypothesis around it, basically treating an old saying like it was a scientific principle that was just waiting to be proven. The theory itself is actually pretty simple. If we can't control fortune, all the random stuff that happens in life, but we can control our own boldness, then the only thing we can really change is our action. So the formula goes, if you crank up your boldness, your fortune has to go up too. Okay, so you've got the hypothesis. Now you have to test it, right? He decided to put it to the ultimate test, and it all came down to this single, heart-pounding moment of connection he had in a cafe. So he spots this woman across the room who he finds intriguing, and he's just hit with this wave of electricity and pure fear. You know that feeling? Every single instinct in his body was screaming at him, no, play it safe, sit down, do nothing. But his experiment demanded something else. So how do you push through that kind of fear? Well, he broke down this huge, terrifying action of approaching a stranger into these 4 small, manageable steps. They were still nerve-wracking, for sure, but it created a clear path for him to walk right through the anxiety. And this was the line he came up with. What's so brilliant about it is how honest it is. He starts with a compliment, but then he immediately calls out the high chance of rejection, and then he makes his offer anyway. It's really a masterclass in taking a bold, vulnerable action. And the result of that 10-second gamble? Well, this pretty much says it all. She actually texted him that night, and that one single act of courage blossomed into a 2-year relationship. That's an absolutely incredible return on a tiny, tiny investment of boldness. Okay, but you might be thinking, sure, that worked once, but was it just a fluke, a 1 in a million stroke of luck? To figure out if the formula was actually reliable, he decided to start a much bigger experiment, a 100-day challenge to be consistently, intentionally bold. So one of his very first experiments was as simple as it was absurd. He literally put on a swimsuit, grabbed a beach towel, walked up to a total stranger's front door, knocked, and just asked if he could jump in their pool. And to his complete surprise, the guy just laughed and said, yeah, sure. So he filmed himself doing a cannonball, he posted it online, and the whole thing just blew up. Its success showed him something really important. This whole idea of taking bold action wasn't just some personal discovery for him. It was something that really deeply resonated with hundreds of thousands of other people. And that just kicked off this 96-day spree of him making all kinds of playful and just outrageous requests. He was really testing the limits of what someone might say yes to, Everything from baking cookies with a stranger, all the way to asking if he could drive a steamroller. Now, here's the crucial part. Most of the time, he got rejected. People said no. But the no's were actually wins in themselves. Every time he heard no, he built up his resilience, he had fun with it, and yeah, every now and then his playful boldness was rewarded in these small, hilarious ways. So after going through all these experiences, the huge romantic win, the viral moments, and dozens of rejections, he was able to really boil it all down into a clear, practical definition of what bold action actually is. And here it is. It's not about being fearless at all. It's about feeling that very specific mix of fear and excitement. That feeling right there, that's your compass. It's telling you that you're stepping outside of your comfort zone in a way that's going to lead to growth. And he makes it super clear that this is a tool for everybody. This is not just for extroverts or people who are naturally confident. It is accessible to absolutely anyone. And the secret, the real magic, happens when you take that action before you feel like you're ready for it. The author Anais Nin captured this idea perfectly a long, long time ago. Your world isn't some fixed thing. Its boundaries are set by the courageous actions that you are, or maybe are not, willing to take. So, all of this brings us to the most important part, right? How do you take this concept from an idea on a screen and actually put it into your own life? When you really look at the risk-reward here, it's surprisingly simple. The absolute worst-case scenario when you take a bold action is that you get a no and nothing changes. You are literally right back where you started. But the best-case scenario? Well, everything could change. And so this whole explainer really leaves us with this powerful and very personal challenge. It doesn't have to be some massive, life-altering thing. It could be as small as making a difficult phone call you've been putting off. So the question is, what will your 10 seconds of courage be?